It was right before my eyes. I would give almost anything, the stars, the moon, and the sky. All for you and I wasn't waiting for a miracle. I just wanted somewhere.
That is a song from Pretty Woman the Musical. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pretty Woman the Musical. I've been listening to it this morning. Actually, not too bad, to be honest. TBH, as the children say. Hey, everybody, Mimi here. So, okay. We have to do something, right? I actually get a lot of questions about this. And it's a good question. It can be touchy, okay? So our series this week is about casting, okay? And this is touchy, especially for us directors, because sometimes we will get the question of, why didn't you cast me as this? And so on and so forth, okay? So we just decided to break it down for you. We're just gonna break it down so you can understand the casting process. So we're gonna break it down this week, okay? So today we're gonna start with what you may have heard of this term before, but didn't know what it was, and it's called typecasting, okay? And so basically what typecasting is, it can be sensitive subject, so we're gonna talk about it. I want you to keep in mind that what I'm telling you are my opinions, okay? And my views and some facts of this topic, okay? So also, real quick, if you're watching this in the replay, please comment with the replay so that I know that you're here. And that also tells me that you actually care about what I have to say, and I appreciate that. So just comment with the word replay so that I know you're here. That's so awesome. So what is typecasting? All right. I'm going to give you like the definition, like what the dictionary says, okay? Typecasting is the process by which a particular actor becomes strongly identified with a specific character. That's one way. One or more particular roles, or characters having the same traits or coming from the same social or ethnic groups. All right. There have been instances in which an actor has been so strongly identified with the role as to make it difficult for them to find work playing other characters. All right. So the gist of that is typecasting happens all the time. It can be good and it can be bad. Okay. That's why you see certain people. I'll just use Kevin Hart as an example. You'll see him playing the same roles sometimes. You know why? Because he's being typecasted, because he's playing that short, funny black guy that everyone loves and who is hysterical. He's being typecast, okay? Is it a bad thing? Not always. I always say it's never bad in the beginning stages of your acting. If you're new to acting or you have recently decided that you want to pursue this as a career, then typecasting is not horrible for you, because you yourself are still learning who you are as far as a performer and an actor, and who you would be cast as. So it's not necessarily horrible. It's in the beginning. As you get older, that's a different story. It becomes a little redundant, okay? So you might be asking yourself, can I avoid it? All right, well, yes and no, okay? I'll give you a little background. Picture it. New York City. I sound like Sophia from Golden Girls. New York City. I was in college, and I had to do a scene with this guy, and it was from a Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And our professor made us, I believe his name was David. David Mold, David something. I can't remember his last name. I just remember David, and I remember him. And I remember he made all the women wear skirts and our character shoes. But I mean, everybody was in black, basically. But you had to be in a skirt, a black skirt, and character shoes, okay? So I was supposed to be seducing my husband in the scene, okay? Mind you, I'm like 18, 19. I don't know what you're talking about. So I wasn't doing what he wanted. So he pulled me out into the hallway. So I thought, this is it. My career's over. I'm getting kicked out. This is it, you know? And he was like, do you know what you'll be typecast as? And I was like, well, I don't know what that even means. So you're gonna have to explain that to me. So he explained it. And then he said, listen, you're gonna have to learn your type, okay? And he said, and I'm going to tell you, your type is going to be the funny sidekick, the madam, the hooker. You're going to play those types of roles, all right? So get that in your brain. You're going to be playing the sultry jazz singer, you know, things like that. I need you to understand that that is what you're going to be playing. So you need to come in here and you need to really think about that and really commit to this role. So I was like, oh my gosh. But do you know he was absolutely right? Because once I finished college, those are the roles that I got. So you can't avoid it. But like I said, in the beginning, it's actually to your advantage, okay? It's to your advantage for several reasons. You get to work on that, okay? So because I knew that that's what I was going to be cast as, I honed that. I studied it. I studied actors who played those roles. I studied those roles. I would choose monologues and song choices, like for auditions, that kind of fit that, so that when I auditioned, they saw me as it, okay? They saw me as that person. So what you do is you take your type and you run with it, all right? And you work and you work and you work because you perfected it. That's why some people can be on a tour of Wizard of Oz for 10 years as a scarecrow. You know why? Because they perfected it. Then they'll get off of that tour and they'll hop into another show being the scarecrow and they can demand more money. You know why? Because he's perfected it. Because he's awesome at it, or she's awesome at it, depending on who your scarecrow is. So you want to embrace your type and you want to perfect it. You want to make sure that, okay, well, if I'm going to be a hooker, I'm going to be the best hooker you've ever seen. You know what I mean? And that's how my brain worked. Like, all right, well, then this is what we're going to do. If this is what we're doing, then that's what we're going to do. And I worked. I continued to work. And so it wasn't until later that I said, okay, you know what? I really want to do something dramatic because, again, I was being cast as the funny girl, the this and that. So it was later that I was like, I really want to work on being dramatic. So I took acting class, and I was taking dance class already a couple times a week, and so I wanted to start working towards that. And I'll tell you a story about that later on. So what we're going to do is me and you. We're going to talk about ways to avoid being typecast, okay? We're going to try it. We're going to see if some of these things will work for you, all right? And they can. They can. Again, if you're in your infancy of acting, these tips you can use later on down the line, okay? So the first thing I like to say is know your truth. You have to know who you are as an actor, okay? Now, factors that you have little control over, they can heavily influence the parts that you're able to play, like whether it do with physicality, vocal range, dance skills, stuff like that. Which you actually do kind of have control over dance skills, but it won't do you any good to like turn a blind eye to the things that make you who you are and the things that don't. Okay, so you need to know your truth. Take the time to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses. This is big, and accept them for now. It may not be forever. You might get cast against type, and we'll talk about that later on this week. But for now, take the time, recognize what you're good at and what you're not so good at, okay? This kind of establishes like your range of abilities, and it coincides with the different types of roles you'll be able to play, okay? That doesn't mean you can't improve on certain skills to expand yourself as an actor, okay? So even, for instance, even if you are playing the funny person, you still need to expand on that, right? And learn how to keep it fresh for yourself and keep your comedic timing. So take some improv class, things like that, you know what I mean? But you got to know who you are as an actor and what you have to offer and the characters that you can play now, okay? Never stop learning. This is huge. The biggest issue I come across here in Jacksonville, and I'm just going to say it, all right? I'm just going to say it because I can. Is people will come. They will either take private lessons or they'll take one session of an 8-week acting class. And they'll expect to walk out of here after an 8-week session or after 4 weeks of acting class of private lessons and be on Broadway. That's not how this works, okay? And it definitely doesn't help you if you're trying to avoid being typecast, right? I say it all the time and I'm going to keep saying it. As an artist, you are always, 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 always learning. Always. Always. You never stop. I learn every day, okay? There's something I learn about my field every single day. How I teach, what I teach, all types of things, methods, a lot of things. You can never stop learning. So the best way to avoid being typecast is to constantly push your boundaries, okay? Every show that you do adds a little bit of like arsenal to your, a little bit of acting arsenal, right? A little something new to your acting arsenal. So now you got to take the time to reflect on how you may have changed, with each new role that you've had, all right? Because that makes a difference. You don't just do a show and then, oh, that was cute, that's over now. No, you do a show and a little piece of that always stays with you, and it should, so that you can be better than your last show because you're only as good as your last show, okay? If you're between auditions, take the opportunity to really hone and craft your skills. I can't say it enough, all right? If you find that you've been in the ensemble several times, show after show after show after show, and it could be for a good thing. It could be because you're a wonderful alto and they want your harmony in the ensemble. But if you're tired of being stuck there, take a voice lesson to reach those higher notes and to broaden your range as much as you can while still knowing your truth. Keep that in mind. I'm not saying that you'll go from being an alto to a first soprano. No, what I'm saying is you might be able to belt a little bit higher in your alto range if you take a voice lesson, okay? Take a dance class. If there's a role that you really want, but you're not a dancer, your type, and you're not a dancer, but you really, really want to work hard at it, take class. Not one class, not 1 week of class. You have to commit and take dance class, okay? If you're sick of being told that you're just going to be cast in dramatic roles, take acting classes. Notice I said classes. plural, people, plural. Okay, take acting classes so that you can work on that. So you can work on comedy. You know, people think comedy is easy. Comedy is actually really hard, especially if it doesn't come naturally to you. If comedic timing does not come naturally to you, it is hard. So take the classes so that you can work on that, okay? Yes, you're always going to be better at some things than others, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't keep doing them, okay? It doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep working on that too and also work on new things, all right? I can't stress this enough. Prepare, okay? You have to prepare. How do you expect to get cast in anything, number one, but also to go against type if you're not prepared? Okay? Listen, you could sing and blow the roof off of with the best Sondheim song that you have, that you're like, this is it, this is the one, or a certain dramatic monologue that you stick to all the time. Let me tell you something. You need to be willing to branch out and not stick with your old standbys if it doesn't relate to the role that you're trying to pursue. You see what I'm saying? There's no reason for you, if you're going to audition, let's say you're going to audition for Noises Off, which is a comedy, it's a play. Don't come in there with this hardcore, dramatic monologue. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they're going to be like, yeah, this is a comedy. So what are we doing? You know? So again, you got to know your truth, okay? And prepare. If you know that you want to go in there and be considered a comedic actor, then you got to be ready. All right? You got to put some of those old standbys to the side and have some new stuff. You got to get pushed out of your comfort zone while remaining properly prepared. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to prepare the same way you would prepare your regular, standby songs, the stuff that get you the gigs. You got to prepare that other stuff just as well so you can get the gig. If for instance, like if you're trying to avoid getting cast as the romantic lead again, then maybe you would prepare something that's a little bit more comedic, that's a little bit more Miss Hannigan and less Cosette. You know what I'm saying? Like more Hannigan, less Cosette, basically. Do you know what I'm saying there? So prepare. You got to be prepared. All right. This one you may not have thought of, and maybe you did, but take a different headshot, okay? We talked about headshots before on live and about how they're used for actors. Like that's the first thing most times directors see. Nowadays, it's a lot of times you email your headshot and resume. Back in my day, you brought it with you to the audition. I don't know if they still do that or not, but we require it here. I do know. Let me not say that. I do know that they still, in most cases, do it, like in New York City and things like that. If you're auditioning for something that might be out of the city, they might ask you to email it. But anyways, take a different headshot. Like, you still want your headshot to look natural, right? I'm not telling you to go and like, okay, let's say you're a comedic actor and you need to take some headshots that show you a little bit more dramatic, right? I am not telling you to go out and smoky eye, right? And cat eye all the way to your hairline and black lipstick. I'm not telling you to do that. No, don't do it. Don't do it. What I'm saying is you can play around with your expressions a little bit, okay? So like if you're auditioning, if you're a comedic actor and you're auditioning for a dramatic role, try something that looks a little bit more, depending on the role. Like if it's an evil role, so try to look a little bit sneaky in your headshot. Or if it's a heartbroken role, try to look a little bit more with longing in your headshot, something like that. without being cartoony. Do you know what I mean? Or if you're auditioning for the opposite, if you're auditioning for a comedy and you're a dramatic actor, laugh, like let out an actual laugh, and your photographer will capture that because it's genuine. You know, Candace, our photographer here, she's always telling us about fake smiles, and it's true. You ever see people in some of their pictures and they look like they're in pain from smiling? That's a real thing, okay? And it looks really bad in headshots too, all right? So, you know, if you're a dramatic actor and you want to do a comedy, let loose, let it out, okay? Let your goofy side shine a little bit, you know what I mean? And still being professional, but just a little bit different, okay? So now that you've got all of your tools together, right? You know your truth, right? You know who you are as an actor. You've been taking class. You've got it together. You're going to dance. You're going to acting class. You're doing those things. You've prepared everything. After you've done those classes, you've gotten your new headshots. Now is the time to walk into that room and you change their minds. Show them you are a force of nature and why you should be considered for this role. I'm going to give you a story I was telling you about. And I may have said this already. I may have told this story. I'm not really sure. But anyways, I was auditioning for a musical adaptation of a book called Addicted by Zane. And I reached out to Zane because I was a big fan of her work beforehand. And I reached out to her and I said, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is going to become a musical. I didn't think she'd respond because she's Zane. And I was like, I'm such a big fan of your stuff and I'm auditioning for this show and I'm really excited. Blah, blah. Well, she emailed me back and she was like, that's great. I'm actually going to be there. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So there was a role. Again, knowing my type, there was a role in the book of Dusty. She was the loud, funny, out there, like, girl that this man was having an affair with, okay? And I knew, I was like, okay, well, I can do that. You know, at that point, it's like I can do that in my sleep. You know what I mean? So I went into the audition and they were passing out sides for you to read on the script. And so I went up and I was like, I'm looking for sides for Dusty. They were like, we don't have any. So the casting director at the time, I think it was Bob Klein, I had auditioned for him several times for various different shows and things like that. And so he said, Mimi, why don't you read this? He said, I want you to read this. And I was like, okay, this is The Best Friend. Which, by the way, was not my type. This was not my type, okay? The Best Friend was supposed to be this, you know, skinny, tall, long hair, you know, just drop dead gorgeous woman from what I read in the book. Here I am in there, afro, pudgy girl. And he's like, yeah, read for The Best Friend. I was like, whatever. So I go in and we're in front of the directors. Well, actually, Debbie Allen was directing it. She wasn't there, but they were videotaping for her to see. And so some of the producers were there and some of the assistant directors and stuff were there. And I go in and I do the comedic part, right? Of that scene with the best friend. And I did it, hey, Jose. And I did the comedic part of it. And they liked it. And then they asked me to do the dramatic one. And I said, okay. And then that was it. A couple hours later, they asked me to come back the next day to do it again for some more directors or whatever. Now, I'm thinking, this is crazy. Like, this was not even my type. It was not my type, y'all. It wasn't my type. So I go back in and I'm auditioning. And now at this point, I've had the sides overnight. So, you know, I'm really like getting into it. And so I did the comedic part again. I remember Zane leaned over to some of the newer people in the room. She was like, watch her, watch this. And I was like, oh my God. Now, mind you, the other girls who were called back for that same role, they looked exactly how the book described. These tall, beautiful girls who were this big and long hair. I was like, and here I come. And I know they were looking at me like, who is this woman, right? But I go in there and I do my thing, and I do the comedic reading, and I do the dramatic one. Okay, I'll leave it alone. A couple days later, I actually get cast in the last tour I did, which was not this show. Okay, and I remember I was in rehearsals for that tour when they called me and wanted to offer me the role, and I said, "I'm already on tour." So I couldn't accept it, which ended up not being a bad thing because it never actually got off the ground. It never premiered. So, it ended up not being a bad thing. But I said that to say I changed their minds of what they were expecting. They were expecting to cast that tall, skinny girl with the long hair, but I wanted, after knew I was being considered for that, I'd already been working on dramatic roles because I was always being cast in comedic roles. I didn't even know I was going to be reading for a dramatic role at this audition. But because I was prepared, I knew what to do. And I went in there and I changed their minds. Do you see what I'm saying? So it is very possible. You just have to be willing to put in the work. And you got to know everything we talked about today. You have to know everything that we talked about earlier about knowing your truth and preparing. You have to know, okay? So it's not impossible. It's not impossible. If you would like the stage notes from what we talked about today, comment with these words, stage notes, in the comments, and I will send you a message. And Jose, did you just have an aha moment with that O? Was that an ooh or an O? I don't know. But if you want the stage notes from today's live, where I have the different tips and stuff, just comment with the word stage notes and I will get them to you. If you like this video, share it. Share it with people. Let everybody did. You did. Okay. Well, that's what was your revelation that you had? Share it with us. So yeah, comment with stage notes if you want the stage notes. Oh, well, you got to get back into it. Take a class somewhere, or audition for a community show. Okay. So for anybody else who wants it, comment stage notes. I'll get you stage notes for it. Share the video. If you don't mind, I appreciate it. Also, this is kind of off topic, but my church, Sandy Run Missionary Baptist Church, we're doing our annual Harvest of Blessings, but we had to move it up because of the hurricane. And what it is, it's a giveaway. We literally give away clothing, food, kitchenware, furniture. We give it away, and we do it over there across from New River Shopping Center where the old Piggly Wiggly is, and it'll be this Thursday. We usually do it in November, but because of the hurricane, we moved it up. So anybody can come, and if you want to volunteer and help on the back end, let me know. And it'll be this Thursday. I think it starts at 9. Jose was realizing I could be a basic human being by being prepared and not being human trash. Okay, well, first of all, Jose, you're not human trash. So let's get that correct, okay? Let's start there. You're not human trash. Never have been. You're never going to be. All right. But yes, you can be prepared. And it will help you in all aspects of life, but especially for theater and trying not to get typecast. Okay. Again, if you are watching this as a replay, comment with the word replay. I appreciate you. I love you. And we're going to talk on, you're welcome. We're going to talk on Wednesday about colorblind casting. Okay. Now that one can get it can be a little much, but we're going to talk about it because I feel like we're cool like that. So we're going to talk about it. All right. Because it needs to be talked about because I get questions about it all the time. All right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Yay. Yes. let me know. Just come. Let me know. I'll be here. I live here all the time, or come by the church. Either one. Just let me know. All right. Well, not the church, because the church is destroyed. We haven't been able to have a church, so come by the other building. All right. Thank you guys so much, and I appreciate you. And don't forget to go on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/Debbie's Angels, Twitter, Insta, all that good stuff. All right. Bye. I'll see you later.